Corey Howard, Vice Chair, sitting in for Bob, the Chair, to 6 o'clock, December 9th, 2024. I'd like to bring the Board of Health meeting to order. First item on the agenda is animal regulations. So this was something that we worked a lot on over the summer, back and forth a few times. A few different people, took a lot of insight from some people and formulated current document.
Do you have a copy of it?
I do not. Thank you.
I know Stacy did. Were you able to look at the one I sent over the weekend? Because it was is that a Google Doc, what is that, where you can see the notes?
I think it's just a Word doc.
Word doc, and you can see like her notes that she put in.
Yeah.
I couldn't print it though, with the notes.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's just the original one that I've made notes on.
All right. No, unfortunately, I did not see even the email to look at it. But we had talked pretty extensively about it, Emily and I last time, I think, and we went over quite a few things and modified some things. Were there some other points that we should really look at on that document, you think, that were
I think there was
pertinent?
there was a couple big ones that Kristen and I talked about, which that was basically stating how much land you would need per animal, or give or take.
Land requirements and space
Land
requirements?
requirements. I think that was a big part that I think it's an important part. Obviously it's up for discussion. What were some of the other things?
You had a question on the chickens too, right?
That was yeah. There was something in there stating, I think it was
8 hens.
yeah, 8 hens or less does not require a permit, is how it's in there currently.
Yeah.
I didn't know if we wanted to keep that or take it out.
It
I
was
wasn't sure.
8 hens or less, doesn't require any permitting whatsoever.
Correct,
It
that's
would-
how it's currently written.
I feel like I'm okay with that, but the question would come up, what about housing for those animals, I think? Like, where would the shed be in
Right.
accordance to the rules? And we have the 30 feet offset building code. And I think this, in the regulation, we said like, follow the building code regulations for offsets. But in a small, like I know people on A Street and B Street, they have some chickens and they would like to keep their chickens, and I'm in favor of that. I am sure their chicken coop is not 30 feet off the property line, because that might not be feasible on all angles.
Right.
So I wouldn't want to, put them in a situation where that wouldn't work out for them. I wouldn't want to write up anything that would infringe on that
Right,
either.
absolutely.
So,
Well, you would grandfather them.
yeah, but what about somebody new moves in? I mean, I don't want to restrict people, over-restrict people. I think we have a lot of restrictions as it is. I wouldn't be comfortable having somebody come in and not be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Have an existing chicken coop in their backyard and not be able to utilize it just because of a new regulation that was passed.
Right, my mind kind of went the same way, like
But you
the housing
also,
of the animals, those 8 chickens wouldn't be regulated whatsoever, obviously. And I guess the question is, are we okay with that? Or do we want to have it more regulated for all animals? But
I
that's kind
think
of
you
the
also
discussion
want to
point.
protect the neighbors too. So you wouldn't want shelter
Mm.
right on the lot line potentially.
No. I mean, I think the common thought is no roosters though, right? It specifically says hens.
No.
Chickens.
I think you can have roosters.
Can't have
Unless there's a
roosters.
complaint.
Right, unless there's a complaint, and
Yep.
we have to deal with the complaint. And hopefully people are doing their best to minimize those
We've had
problems, but
not many complaints.
very little complaints anyways. That's good. So restrictions on how many animals, is this per,
Those are just things I wrote down.
lot, was
Yeah.
that,
Like, if someone says I'm moving into town,
how many animals can I have?
I have 2 acres, can I have, but out of that 2 acres is 3/4 of that wetlands. You know what I mean? How do you know, like, what's
Yeah,
gonna be fair to the animals?
I would think, and some of these, you really gotta lean on our animal inspector, I think. I mean, that the animal inspector's job is to make sure that the animals are well cared for, and that there's not problems with overpopulating an area with something. So I think a lot of this stuff, like, we really have to lean in on our animal inspector and assume that he's doing his due diligence and making sure that animals are in fact healthy and that there's ample space for those animals.
To that point, I was also thinking that the land use requirements could also kind of take care of that portion. You know, like, unless you have 20 acres, you know, like,
Right.
with the land use requirements, that's gonna cap how many you can have,
Right,
you know,
right.
depending on the land.
And there was stuff in here about zoning too, like zoning, agricultural versus residential zoning. I think that would play a difference. So there are some notes on the document. I mean, I don't feel as though I'm ready to,
Send it off to Rich.
to take a vote yet. If we don't, like I said, I haven't been able to read your notes, and I would like to sit down and read through some of those and think about how, like I say, like land,
Because a lot of calls I get are people, I'm moving to town. How many can I have? 2 horses? Can I have?
right, and 2 horses on 2 acres could be plenty of space, more than enough space for 2 horses. If you're organized, you could have 2 horses on a half an acre probably if you're well organized and you have a manure handling system in place, like some sort of a composting idea. I mean, if you are, and I think we required some of those ideas be written up in this regulation. I think there's verbiage about that, so. But I mean, and then again, the same situation, I mean, 2 acres might not be enough land for people if they're not taking care of things properly, so.
Right. Situational,
Yeah.
unfortunately, which is hard when you're writing regulations, because you're trying to blanket statement.
Right, which again is where we need to land on the animal inspector. So I think a lot of this falls on him. I would actually really like to have the animal inspector here the night that we like finally pass this, and I'd like to get in touch with him and have him look at this.
He's, may not be doing that much longer.
Oh, bummer, I really liked it. So we might be looking for a new animal inspector, huh? Well, I think either way, I'd like his input. I mean, he's a pretty good guy, pretty knowledgeable. He's been farming for years.
Yeah, I mean, I've sent this to him, so he should have it.
He has?
Yeah.
All right, I'll get his number and maybe give him a
Yeah.
call and talk to him a little bit about it.
Another thing I was thinking, was they can always, if for example, we pass a regulation that's a blanket statement and they think, you know, maybe they're very well organized and they're like, well, I'm just under the land use requirement or whatnot, like maybe they could apply for a variance
Yeah.
in certain
Yeah.
circumstances. And,
Yeah.
you know, kind of appease people
Yeah.
rather than deter them.
Right.
Right. And would we have to write that like unless special permit?
Yeah, I think that.
There might be something
I think
even like that.
there may have been a section
And they mentioned that,
already
like
about
without,
variances in there, but if not, we have.
there definitely is a variance section. I don't remember how detailed or what
I
exactly
can't either. I think
that was
it's-
about, but I haven't looked at that in over a month though, so it's been a little while.
But we can absolutely, you know, like revise that one however we want.
Yeah. I mean, we're really close, I think, to having this thing figured out. Like I said, I just want to review it a little bit and make sure that we're not, hindering people who would like to move to town and have a few chickens, backyard birds. I mean, I don't think that's an issue. You have anything to add, Dick, about that? No, I mean, I don't think we're quite ready to make a motion on it yet. But, I think we're very close. So I'll take a look at that, before the next meeting for sure, and I'll try to talk to our current animal inspector and get his feelings on it. And then, take a look at your notes. You said you were, yes.
Hi, Becky Gallagher.
Excuse me, not to interrupt. Have we signed everybody in? Have they all?
Yeah, you're sending it.
Excellent, all right, thank you. Yeah, shoot.
I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball on this, just hearing through the grapevine that this was happening. 2 questions. I'm kind of curious what the backstory is or what precipitated this whole process. And question number 2, when do you expect the public hearing on this to be?
We have been talking about an animal regulation since I've been on the board, which is about a decade or so now. Since I was animal inspector, we've been talking about a regulation, and I think we started talking about it when I was animal inspector, just because of instances where things weren't ideal, and you need some sort of a regulation to fall back on to tell people, you know, well, this is the way you need to do it, or, you know, there's a fine or some sort of a consequence for not doing it. Now, the whole basis of the regulation is really focused on animal health and welfare. It's really not to limit anybody's personal right in having an animal or having a pet or doing something like that, or so it wasn't to restrict anybody. It was really based, and I mean, everything that I've read on it and tried to add or take out or manipulate was really based on removing some of the like restrictions for people, but maintaining a certain level of welfare for the animals. That's sort of the direction that this has been headed.
So none of the issues that have been cropping up were not able to be addressed by, like, say, the MSPCA? I don't know if it was a lot of issues or something,
No, I mean, some things are, like, once you get really into animal rights and things and certain infringes, yeah, but I think having a regulation in town that sort of legitimizes some of that would be helpful for some people. Helps also, like, neighbors and things. I mean, there's just so many instances, and we were one of the few towns that didn't have a focused animal regulation. Our only animal regulation was one that you couldn't have more than 4 pigs on 2 acres, or 2 pigs on 5 acres. I forget the exact verbiage, but it was there was one that was like a 25-year-old regulation that obviously popped up because of a problem somebody had with a neighbor, I'm sure. So we just felt like it was time that we had something in place. You know, I mean, I may not be on the board forever, and I feel like I have a pretty good handle on animals, and again, I didn't want to be overregulated myself, and nor do I know. I mean, I know a lot of animal people that probably don't want to be overregulated either, and we have people that have chickens, you know, with not a lot of land, and I'd hate for somebody to come in and try to take their birds away, or not allow somebody to keep a rooster on their property just because it crows. Certain things that I think we should be able to do. So I wanted to be part of the write-up, I guess, is one reason why we're trying to do it now, or why I would like to do it while I'm still here. But that's not the main reason. I mean, the main reason was for animal welfare, really. But yeah, I mean, you could call the MSPCA and do that. But I mean, I think it's always better if we can just minimize, you know, those type of things. But
yeah, I'm just trying to get a sense of if it's like another layer of rules and regulations. Is it worth it when you have the MSPCA as a backup? So I was just kind of curious to get a sense on that.
I mean, I think
all.
sometimes, no, it doesn't matter. I think sometimes, yeah, those kind of phone calls would come into play.
That's more if there's abuse though, right?
Yeah, if it's a real animal welfare issue. I mean, if it's something like there's just a little bit of overcrowding, or, you know, something that we can fix. I mean, if there's verbiage or something written up, and we can lean on the animal inspector a little bit to sort of follow through with some of these. And I wish I could think of an example off the top of my head. I really can't. But you know, there's certainly things that pop up in town that would be nice. And a couple of things have, and I mean, I don't feel comfortable discussing them, but a few things have popped up with people having animals, and you know, building a small shed that doesn't meet the building code requirement to even get a permit, you know, and then they throw chickens in it, and they throw it right on their property line, and all of a sudden chickens are in the neighbor's yard. So to minimize nuisance complaints like that, you know, there's some stuff about building code, and any building, it doesn't specify size, it's just any building has to, you know, follow along with the building code. So even if you build a 6x4 shed, which you don't need a permit for that, you should still be 30 feet off the property line if you have, you know, 2.5 acres of land. And there were some people that weren't doing that.
Yeah.
So we had some complaints, and we needed some sort of a leg to stand on.
Another oddball question that just popped into my head. So, say a neighbor complains, calls the MSPCA on somebody, and it ends up being like totally bogus, would the town board of health be able to step in and say, your complaint is not valid before you have to go to court? I'm only asking this because when I first moved here, I had I know it was my neighbor, called the MSPCA. I had to go to court because they said I was mistreating my 2 horses, saying my shed wasn't big enough and they didn't have room to move around and stuff like that. And I had to go to court to show pictures of when I bought one of those horses that was being starved. You could see the backbone from head to toe, and pictures of it since I had gotten it, his
Body condition
robust
score,
health
much better.
and everything, right. And it was thrown out because it was a nuisance. They said, no, you didn't, those animals are not being abused.
Yeah, but
When
you had to go to court, go
right,
through the whole
exactly, because
rigmarole
of-
for.
But have you got anything in there to deal with a recourse like that? If we had animal rules and regulations
I've
and,
never dealt with the MSPs, like, they've never called me on anything.
no, they didn't
I've
call
never-
the town, they just immediately, to fight that, you've gotta go to court.
Wow, so that person went right above town, huh?
Yeah.
So my hope
So how would
generally,
that- I don't know who has precedence, would the town or MSPCA have precedence on that? I'm just throwing this out your way.
yeah, they're totally separate.
Separate entities.
2 totally separate entities. I think that's the right answer. Generally, complaints do come through the Board of Health when it's an animal complaint. I mean, I know. Generally,
Yep.
we've gotten complaints through the Board of Health. And then usually we're able to mitigate those. Like we've had chicken complaints, we've had, there was another, was it sheep or goats? There was some sort of complaint about animals crossing the line. And generally we're able to fix those. I would imagine an irate neighbor, if they didn't get the answer that they would want, they would probably try to
Still go there.
just go right over.
Nuisance complaints more than
Yeah.
abuse
Yeah.
issues.
Right, right.
I don't get
And-
many abuse issues.
Yeah.
It's
No.
mostly nuisance.
Usually nuisance. And that would probably be some irate neighbor's next step, right? Would be, well, then maybe it's, maybe if I call them and say it's an abuse thing, they'll get this nuisance taken care of for me. So no, but this regulation does try to protect, now granted, if the MSPCA summons you to court, I guess you gotta go to court, I mean, the Board of Health can't get somebody out of that. But this regulation, I think, does protect the person who owns those animals to some extent. I mean, it gives you, you would have a permit, you would have, if you had 2 horses on 2 acres or whatever your property is, if you're zoned agriculture, there's nothing saying you can't have those animals. And then you would have a write-up for your manure handling system. There would be pictures of your barn, your facility. It would be building code, because now you're talking a 2-horse stall barn. You definitely have to get the building inspector involved in that. You're well over the minimal footage. So this regulation would probably help you in that case more than hinder you, I would say.
That was just a curiosity question.
Yeah, I think this regulation, would be more apt to help somebody like you in that situation. If you went to them and you said, my animal inspector came, he inspected, here's my manure hand plan, this is all my things, here's my permit that the town gave me, I'm in inspected place, they'd say, well then, this is crazy, this is just this lady being,
That was in 1980, so.
I feel like this is more like a baseline set of
Still
rules
stinks.
of
Yes.
how things should be operating,
Yeah,
more
yes,
so
I
than
agree.
dealing with.
yes. And there's a lot of vagueness to it too, and there's a lot of gray area too, I think, in this, and I think we did that purposely, just for those people on A Street, so that we don't so that we don't say everybody who lives residential can't have chickens anymore. Like, sorry, everybody.
So when do you expect the public hearing to be?
I think we need to probably review this at least one more meeting, possibly 2.
I'm sure if it does go before town council first.
It probably has to go to town council even before the public hearing.
Yep.
So maybe it would be spring,
Okay.
maybe we'd get it. It probably has to go to town meeting, right? I mean, it would have to go, I think, to be passed. So maybe we get it on for a town meeting in the spring. But I think we need to,
Wouldn't it have to be the public hearing before the town meeting, though?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. We have to check with town council and the big
I don't
guy.
think it would go to town meeting, like the budget meeting, it would just go to town council. I think we vote on it and then they vote on it if I'm,
Yeah,
I think.
that sounds about right.
I
Sounds
also
about
want to
right.
say, though, that it was also a collaborative effort with the other towns who are part of the, kind of the group. So everyone was kind of either redoing or starting the process to do this. So we were kind of
We're like using.
using each other's
Yeah.
work, so again, to have similar
Yeah.
guidelines across,
The
the
eight, it was eight
eight
communities.
communities, yeah, in 8 towns. So it was a collaborative effort as well. So it wasn't something we just kind of pulled out of the air.
Right.
It was
Yeah, we had
something
that as a
was really
backbone
thought
to
out,
start.
yeah.
When I first moved here, within the first few years, they tried to introduce some animal regulations that were so bad. There was an uproar from everybody in this community. It was that bad, and it just got kibosh, so.
Yeah. Yeah, we took,
Until I read that, I'm.
so the
don't-
Northbridge and the Uxbridge ones, I thought were far more restrictive
I agree.
than anything we wanted to be a part of. Which is why we've totally, I mean, we used that as the backbone and we stripped it and we added some things. I'd say we took out more than we added, and the things we added were more to protect the person who wants the animals. Whereas I think the Northbridge and the Uxbridge animal regulation, it makes it really hard to have animals in those towns, unless you have a lot of land, a lot of space, and you're zoned correctly.
I think ours were defaulting more towards you can have the animals, not you can't have the animals.
Exactly.
Yes.
That was the intention.
Yeah, right. Was more to, make it easier for you to have something and a leg to stand on if you do have a nuisance complaint, if somebody doesn't like what you're doing on your property. You have a permit, you've gone through all the handling, all the plans, everything is written up. Make it a little more legit, I guess, than just, my neighbor has a herd of sheep and they're all over his yard and they get into my
You got
yard.
50 chickens and I don't know where they're keeping them.
Right, and there's-
that kind of thing.
It gives somebody who has the animals like, yeah, well, look, I'm doing everything right, the way that, MSPCA, people want you to do it. I'm following the rules. Yes.
Hi, Dallas Keeney. What is the current land requirement that you have set? Because in September, it was anything over 2 acres, doesn't require a permit, just fills out the livestock form.
Yes.
Is that still,
I think that's the direction we were headed. I think anything over 2 acres, I believe, without finding it in there, I think anything over 2 acres, we were thinking that just be forthcoming with what you have. That way, well, number one, the animal inspector can inspect them. He sees them, but you don't need a special permit to do that, especially zoned agriculture. If you are zoned residential, I think, in less than 2 acres, then it would require a permit.
And that was
Which
larger lot, that was for horses and
Yeah.
pigs, right? It wasn't for it wasn't for
it wasn't for
chickens.
chickens. Yeah, I don't think it was for poultry. I think it was for hooved animals mostly.
well, that's why I asked, because I have horses and goats and chickens.
Yeah.
But we bought the property RA, and the barn was already there, the fencing was already there, and it was changed to RC after we bought it. So, and that we just found out about like 2 weeks ago.
So, the worst case scenario, you would have to get a permit. That would be the worst case scenario, and I'm not even sure if that would necessarily be the case at this point, because we haven't actually passed anything. But I think worst case scenario, you would probably be required to, or asked to get a permit. And then that would be, but if you have a barn, you have a situation, you probably already have a manure handling system that you're doing, and probably already composting, and probably already have all these things going.
Yeah, I've already had the animal inspector out. I have, my
Yeah.
vets have all keep a record of everything, so.
Yeah, so I think, in that sense, I don't think this regulation would aim to remove anything from your property. I think, if anything, it would help protect you and your rights to keep the animals there, as opposed to the opposite.
Yes, we have had issues with people calling in nuisance for falsified claims. So I want to know what's going to happen if I have to do a hearing for a permit and then have people spreading lies, or, who's going to come out and actually investigate that? is the burden of proof on me as the animal owner, or is it gonna be just hearsay? Like, how are those complaints going to be handled?
That's a good question. I would imagine at some point, like previously stated, we would lean on the animal inspector for his assessment of the property and his assessment of the way the animals are kept. Obviously, like picture data, those kind of things are good on your part too. But if something did arise like that, I would imagine maybe the health agent would visit the property. If there was, I mean, we're going on the premise that there's a baseline of complaints. People are, right, they're complaining about something, whether it's legit or not, right? There's some sort of a nuisance complaint or something, and they're bringing it up in front of the board. There would be an investigation. I mean, we've had instances where people were keeping animals in less than ideal situations, and I've gone to the property as just a board member. The health agent's gone to the property, the animal inspector's gone to the property, and we've inspected and noticed some problems with the way things were being kept, asked them to make some adjustments on the way that they were handling systems. And I think that the one thing I'm thinking of, unfortunately, the pig regulation is sort of what would stop them, because that pig regulation is pretty clear. You don't have X amount of land, you can't have X amount of pigs. And I think they were violating that regulation. So unfortunately for them, that didn't work out. But this regulation aims to sort of prevent that. And we tried to mitigate, it was a manure runoff situation, and we were sort of just, we were there to help, right? I mean, that's the goal. I certainly didn't want to take their pigs away. I certainly didn't want to take their pigs away. I think, I've raised animals my whole life, so I wouldn't want to take anybody's animals away. We tried the best we could to figure out a solution that would help everybody. And
Are there protections for people who already have animals with basic sense and sounds that come from
I think there will be a grandfather clause in some way, shape, or form to this too. There will be some sort of a grandfathered type of situation, but I don't think you in your situation, like I said, I think the worst case scenario, you would have to apply for a permit. That would be the worst case. I don't think anybody would deny that permit based on your current situation of what you've been doing. I certainly wouldn't.
That's good.
And I would try to make sure that this regulation was written in a way that also wouldn't, that you could stand behind the regulation in some way, shape, or form too. Like I said, if you had to go through the permit process and get a permit, then the regulation would back you on that permit.
But would there be a limit to how many acres per, how many animals?
So I'm not necessarily in favor of limiting. I mean, I have 25 goats right now and 40 chickens, and I could have as many as, counting babies in the spring, 50 to 60 goats and 100 plus chickens, counting chicks. So, I mean, this regulation is aimed to protect anybody. Not just me per se, because I obviously have a direct interest, but everybody, to protect anybody who wants to raise animals, because those numbers do flux. And they change sometimes, especially when you're breeding. I mean, we raise and breed goats and raise and breed chickens, so those numbers change. Right now, going into winter is when I have my minimal amount. We've got like 25 birds and 25 goats right now. And we have 2.5 acres. But we have a manure handling system, and we are compost, and we spread the compost on the field that we do have, and we utilize those things in the garden. So we have a lot of these other systems in place alongside of that that make it doable. So when this passes and I have to pull a permit for it, I'll have all that written up, and how often I turn my manure pile and I lime it and I take care of it. Sometimes, if there's a fly problem, they sell the little wasps that you buy.
Fly predators.
Yeah, I mean, so there's all sorts of things in place that people can do to minimize the impact on other people and to minimize the nuisance. We're also zoned agriculture, so that could, that plays in my favor also. But a lot of the town is zoned agriculture. I mean, unfortunately, like I said, yours just got swapped out on you.
Second we bought it.
But, but I mean, then that would probably be where the grandfather clause would help out and come into play too. Along with the permit and the write-up and like what your systems are that you would have in place, I think I put a lot of weight into people's articulation of how they plan on handling those types of nuisances that could
What about noise?
Pop up.
Like,
noise.
like for neighbors and stuff?
You know, if neighbors do start complaining about noise, there's only so much you can do. I mean, I think you have just as right to have an animal in your backyard as somebody does to not. That's my general feeling. That's my personal general feeling. But like we've told people with roosters before that, like, listen, you got to leave that thing locked up, or there's going to be more nuisance complaints, and at some point you might have to get rid of them if this continues, because you can't, you know, have a rooster crowing in your neighbor's window at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I know mine start at 3 o'clock in the morning. But I leave them locked up. I don't let them out of the coop until about 6 to 7 in the morning, and you know, at night they roost anyways. And I close the windows, I close the doors, and it's pretty muffled. My window is probably the closest window to it, so.
That's good, just making sure, like, I go around and I help people build fencing and I teach them how to care for their animals properly. That's a huge portion of what I do. So I want to make sure those that are doing well already and those who are willing to learn are going to be protected, and not have the MSPCA show up and overcrowd shelters that are already bursting open because a neighbor is upset about a scent. or
Yeah, I mean,
smell.
this regulation would have zero impact. Maybe not zero. I mean, I don't imagine that the MSPCA in this regulation would have any connection. I mean, those are, like you said, those are two separate entities. I mean, if anything, this might help a situation where the MSBA was there, because you would have a permit with all your systems in place written up about how you're handling the manure and noise mitigation or whatever, you know, those sort of things might arise. I mean, the idea is that this regulation is for the animals' welfare, number one, and to help protect the people that have the animals. With some backing, you know, for a neighbor that they're not being imposed on. You know, like if you have more than 2 acres, and it's a building code law, the 30-foot offset. It's not a Board of Health regulation, it's not in this, it's a building code law. So even if you build any kind of barn, it doesn't matter if it's the size requirement or requires a building permit, and it's closer than 30 feet, you're out of luck. This just says any animal building also, you know, within 30 feet would not be, you know, and who would want to do that unless you purposely want to annoy your neighbors? You know, you try to minimize, at least I do, I try to minimize the amount of nuisance that my animals would cause to my neighbors. Now, my neighbors are very close to where my animals are kept, just because that's the way we develop my backyard. But I try to minimize any impact that they have on them, for sure. And that would be evident if somebody came to my house, they would see all the things that I do to try to minimize that, I think. Yep. You got something?
You have your questions answered?
A little bit?
Yeah.
For now.
A little bit? Yeah. Try to help.
Until we see the draft.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm hopeful that it does. I mean, I'm hopeful that it does exactly what we wanted it to do. You know, the idea is that, like I said, it protects the animals, it protects the people that keep the animals, and then it makes some rules so that the people who don't have common sense, who would just infringe on their neighbors' rights, can't necessarily do that either. So hopefully it's good for everybody. That's the goal. That's the goal. Whereas that pig regulation, I feel like, is very vague and strict and just kind of cuts you off right there. I don't really see the necessity in cutting people off. If people are good at what they do, they can do it with very minimal impact on other people. It's my general feeling. Hope that answers your questions. For now.
Now.
Right
For
now.
That's it.
That's fair.
Thank you.
That's fair. Can only answer so many at a time. Is there anything else animal regulation wise? I mean, I don't feel comfortable with voting on that or doing anything with that until I look it over some more. You know, we keep modifying that every time I think we look at it. So until we stop modifying it, I feel like it's tabled for another meeting. Agreement? Yeah?
Yes.
All right. So that's it for animal regulations. Anything else today? All right. Thank you for coming and talking. I really appreciate it. We need the feedback, because otherwise how do you make a good regulation that everybody can get behind if you don't have people telling you what they need from it? That's a really important piece. Because if we don't do it, somebody's gonna at some point.
It's kind of hard until we get
Yeah.
a chance to look at the
Yeah.
draft to get into some of the nuts and bolts of it, so that's why I was
Good,
asking the timeline on.
good, good. And I hope that we can get it out there so people can view it. I don't know how we do that. I think it has to go to town council, but I would like to have,
Gotta find that out.
yeah, I mean, I would like to have people look at it and give us feedback on it so that we can modify it.
Let me know when the draft is available. We'll handle that
Excellent.
for you, no problem.
Excellent. I think that's fantastic because I mean, that's what you
I'll
need.
even put my email on here.
That's what you need. I mean, you need people that can feedback and tell you like what you think this is missing. I mean, having an understanding that somebody at some point is gonna do something, right? There's gonna be an animal regulation in this town. All the other towns have them. So it's not a matter of if we do or don't, it's a matter of what it is, that when eventually we get it. So we're trying to make it as impactful as we can, you know, without restricting our rights in town as well, you know? So yes, we will certainly let you know as soon as we have something. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Both of you, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, number 2 on the list, transfer station. What do we got?
Security cameras, they've started the process.
Oh, good, yes.
Yep, so Dave's gonna go work at the.
Bueno.
I'm not going.
Not you, Dave. IT Dave. He's gonna start working at the infrastructure at the fire department, so hopefully, estimated time frame is February.
Uh-huh, all right.
It's a lot to do.
Oh, that'll be great. I
Yeah.
can't wait till those are done. I feel like that's money well spent.
So what they're doing is they're taking out completely taking out the old system and brand new system.
Yep.
Yeah, I was there the other day. I saw some guy unloading a deck from his trailer. I mean, it was a deck. I
Yeah.
assume, you know, it was his own deck and he was rebuilding his backyard deck. That's what I'm going
When I went
with.
on Saturday, I saw a very commercial vehicle offloading some very bulk items, and I was like,
Yeah, I mean, I think we maybe need to talk to the guys and tell them, like, can you, like, write down some of these license plates? Because, I mean, nobody takes down a deck in their backyard every week.
yeah.
You know, I mean, you take...
yeah.
I know, I mean, I've got a lot of stuff. I cleaned out my basement last week, and I brought 4 big black trash bags full of...
Yeah.
I don't even know, like, the basement, I swear, it looks about the same.
No,
I'm not
and I-
even
and I
sure
know
where it
we've-
came from.
And I know we've
but-
talked about, like, some people want to use their work truck to bring their, like, I got
Yeah.
it, but this was, I don't think that this was the issue, I don't think that was the issue. This was a
Right,
very
right.
large commercial vehicle with a lot of stuff, and I'm
Right.
like, this doesn't seem household to me.
It's unfortunate,
And
you know?
if I wasn't in a rush that day, I would have said, like, hey, what's going on here, but,
Well, we don't have any authority unless you're wearing,
no, I
unless you
mean,
work
to
there or
talk to our
just-
attendants
our
to
guys,
say, like,
our guys.
what are
Yeah,
we
yeah,
doing,
yeah.
what are we doing here?
I got you. Because I was thinking the same thing when I was there, and I said to the guy working, I said, that looks like a pretty big deck to me that he's unloading. Said, just keep a mental note of that truck, and,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like I said, he shouldn't, you know, people don't take down a deck every
Yeah.
week.
I don't know what in
So-
particular it was, but I remember seeing a very large truck, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
and these were 2 guys with a big truck and a big trailer, and they were just pulling pieces off and throwing it in the bulk. And,
was it Saturday?
yeah, it was a Saturday.
I wonder if it was the same one.
And you know what? I mean, it's one of those things. It's those people are saving a lot of money because to get rid of that at
Yeah.
Berkey's is going to cost you $300
Yeah, but
at
that's-
least every
but
trip.
But that's not what the point of the transfer station is, to
No.
offload your business stuff. It's for,
No, it's they're paying for like public trash. You know,
Yeah.
their permit is literally like probably 1 week's worth of their dump, and they're dumping it 27, 30 weeks out of the year. And those people that are abusing the system in that way. I mean, they're saving thousands of dollars by doing that, but it's costing all the
costing everybody
residents.
else, right.
It's costing
That's-
everybody else that uses it for its intended purpose,
Correct.
right? It's so those 5 or 6 people, 10 people that are abusing the snot out of it. Yeah, they're saving 10 grand, $20,000 a year out of their pocket. I hope they're going on a nice vacation with that because it's costing the other 600,000 people that use the transfer station. You know, that's why we have to go up on stickers. People ask, it's because of the people that abuse it. Why do you have to charge more for your sticker? because there's a handful of people that abuse it, and everybody has to pay for them, because who else is gonna? So if we can minimize that, that would be fantastic, because I like paying less. All right, in any case, security cameras might help with that, because at least then we can see some consistency,
yeah.
right? We could go back and we could look at tape
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, we can go back and look at the tape and say,
and say, you know what, buddy,
What's
there's,
this?
Yeah.
I wanna see your house, because it must be immaculate, because you're redoing everything all the time. All right, tonnages, how we looking there?
Good.
Wonderful. And a subtle one in there.
Oh, man, those guys, they're killing it, huh?
Under the container of tin,
Yep, yep,
we did one trip in 2 months.
jeez, holy mackerel,
And part of that is we're taking the deposit cans away
Yep.
nice.
by the huge bag full.
That's fantastic. I can't wait till we get a packer for cardboard and plastic too. Someday, right? The dream. Someday. Now, what about that bulk tank? How many trips had that thing gone out? Where's the bulk on this? Just talking about that, I'm curious about that. Oh, bulk.
After the middle.
Yep,
Yep.
yep. Not too bad. Not too
That's
bad,
like average.
considering.
Well, 3.91's kind of high.
Yeah, that's pretty high, but generally speaking, that's not too bad. Yep. Yeah, that's not too bad. All right. Good, good. Guys are doing good. True, false?
Yeah.
True.
This came up when toilet paper, household wrapping paper, all come in large plastic bags.
Right.
Not bags, but it's
yeah,
plastic
wrap.
packaging. And my question to me was, Dick, look in the mirror, is this recyclable or not?
No. It's a clogger, right?
So what I want to do is to put up a stand and put it up just before where we put the electronics and stuff, so people sort of want to slow down there, and dangle one of these things in front of people and say, true or false, this is recyclable, or is not. However, whatever unit we have, whatever thing we have, because the large plastic bags are recyclable.
Large plastic ones
but-
are.
But not at our transfer station.
Yes.
Right, and not in
That's the
the,
trick.
not in the bin,
That's
not
the
in
trick.
the cut,
Right,
Awesome.
not
Right.
in there.
Yeah.
Right, like the
Not at
Walmart,
our station,
Right.
right.
Walmart shopping bags, are those classified in the same
Wal-
category?
Walmart has them,
All
Hannaford's
those.
has them,
Yep.
they all have places to throw these things.
They are recyclable, just we
They are,
not here.
right.
Yep. So us,
So
we,
what I'd like to do is to make this stand and just have a button, so it's a quick thing and go. And you get your answer right then.
yeah, that could be a neat little thing. Now, have you looked, like, is that something that they make, like, you can just buy?
Yeah, I'll make it.
You got an idea?
Yeah,
That engineering brain going to work?
yeah. Let me at it.
Yeah, well, I'm interested to see what you're thinking.
Yeah,
I think I got my brain wrapped around it.
Yeah, we can try it and see how it works. If it doesn't work, we throw it out, starting something
I don't know.
else.
I mean, personally, Dick, you've been doing so much work up there, and you have a lot of great ideas, so I'm in favor of entertaining any of your ideas.
Speaking of ideas, the guys
Wait. I said any idea, but
The
hold on.
guys suggested painted lines up there, and apparently they're very happy with the results,
I like that too.
with a couple of exceptions.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will not park in those lines.
No, sir.
Yeah,
Well, then don't, sir. Don't.
that's what they said to him. Well, then don't.
Take your
Don't.
deck and go home.
Right? Then don't.
No, I mean, just personally, I found it I think it's very good because.
Yeah, it gives you an idea.
Yeah,
Right?
so,
All right? Just tell the guys practice, right? Just practice. Everybody needs a little practice backing up. It's not bad. Just practice.
Where were we before backup cameras?
it's right, mine, I don't have one, so that's why I found it very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, use your mirrors. Use your mirrors. All right. So yes, Dick, I think if you want to try something like that, anything that, helps
Maybe-
recycling, helps get rid of
They-
junk.
Speaking of to go back one step, do they have a bin in front of the recyclables for those plastic bags, correct? I'm trying to remember.
I believe
Those-
so, but
Mostly those are the plastic bags that you carry.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
We
They
had
do have that,
the
though, right?
ones I'm talking about are the big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, any kind of plastic bag, right? Any kind of packaging, plastic
I mean,
packaging
I
material?
personally haven't
Yeah.
noticed anybody throwing like plastic bags
Yeah, I
into,
don't know.
into the thing.
No, I haven't seen that in a while, so
Yeah.
I think that sort of people smartened up about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was guilty of that, but before I knew that those things weren't part of that. They
I
were,
mean, I just bring my recycle bin and I just kind of go, oh,
that's
this
what I
one,
do.
that's this one, that's this one. and
I
then
dumped
okay.
the bucket full right in there. All right. Yes, so have at it. Have at it. We good there?
Yep.
All right, transfer station, any more talk about transfer station stuff? No?
Nope.
Public health officer, Agnieszka could not make it tonight, so.
Yep, nope, so we had spoken to Matt about this a while ago, and I think we talked about this before, is gonna stay the nurse, but also take on some inspections as
Yep.
well. So they had to change her title.
Yep.
Because she's not just a nurse now.
Yeah,
So we've discussed it with Matt, and he discussed it with the selectmen. So they're not changing anything, they're just kind of combining. So nothing has to be really voted on, other than you can vote on her representing as an inspector.
as an inspector as well.
Yeah. And it will be a public health officer.
Now, how is she gonna get paid for those inspections? Is it per? Will it be, per? Is that the plan?
I thought they were just changing her.
Just
position.
changing her position. She's still gonna work the 19 hours a week right now. She's only gonna be looking at food right now. And then FY '26.
I just don't want her to be doing more than she
No,
should
she
be
won't be.
for the
No.
same amount of,
No,
you know, like, I mean, I feel like the inspections should almost be like commission-based or
no,
something.
so the
like that.
hours will remain the same for FY '25, and she'll
Okay.
concentrate on food. Which she's already taking classes on and everything. And then she'll use another whole year to train and try and look more into housing too. And then we'll look at the whole new, how many hours it's taken her. But
Yeah,
right now,
I
we're
mean,
just gonna leave it at 19 hours a week.
We had talked at a previous meeting about how, like, it's great that we have the
Yeah.
BV,
PPH.
PGH folks,
Yeah.
but having somebody in town that can be right there
Yeah.
and sort of a face that.
Because they're supposed to be supplemental.
Right.
Yeah, well, right now they're not.
right, supplemental, not full-time Douglas
Right, right.
employees.
Yeah.
So-
As wonderful as Douglas is.
We need a home, you know, hometown, homegrown,
Yeah.
you know, sort of
Yeah.
thing capacity too.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if she's doing more work than she was for the same amount of money, then there should be some
Well, she's still
sort of-
working the same hours.
Yeah, right.
But I would
so
recommend
she's
though,
going
her
in.
just keeping track of what she does.
How
as
many
well.
food
How many-
inspections she does?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
She
yeah.
would anyway,
Yep, yep,
right? But
yep.
just so, when it comes up again.
Do
you know.
they pay for this, for the inspections, the food establishments? Is
Yeah.
that like a charge, so?
But included in their permit
Yeah,
for the year.
right.
It's not like as, unless it's
Yeah,
re-inspections.
so that would be the leg I would stand on there, is like, if we are receiving money for those services and she's just going out while we're already paying her hourly and doing above and beyond, doing extra work that we were already, like, so she's already 19 hours a week. Here, hour 18, she goes out, does a food inspection, comes back, I mean, she's still within those hours, she's getting paid the same amount, but she's doing an additional service that we're receiving funds for. That feels like she should be receiving some of those allotted funds in addition to her regularly
And
hour
that-
pay,
That's why we're gonna see in FY '26 what,
how it works
Yeah.
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because she, right now, she's still gonna be just working
Right.
with these guys.
Right, but this is what happens, people
Yeah.
ask people to do
Yeah.
more for the same, and the burnout rate goes
Oh,
up.
believe me, she,
Yeah, good.
We don't want her to
Just
burn
keep
out.
track.
yeah.
She is a
she's-
fabulous
Yes.
nurse to have
Yeah,
around.
no.
We
Yeah,
don't,
no, we'll definitely keep track of
yeah,
that.
we don't wanna
So,
burn her out.
We can vote on that. to-
Is this called a public health
Health officer.
officer, or is it an adjunct public health officer?
Just not the public health nurse.
Associate public health officer?
Public health officer.
Yes, public, okay.
Miss, public health.
P.
You wanna put something in front of it?
Yeah.
Well,
Alright.
but we already have one public
Alright.
health officer.
Well,
Alright,
no,
she
we
will
have an
be.
agent.
Agents.
Public health agent,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay,
yes.
So if you can vote to have her act as an agent for
All
public
right.
health.
So we would like a motion to change the public health nurse's position title to public health officer
so moved.
for, so moved. Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Seconded. Motion is, any
In favor.
discussion in favor, against? Thank you. Thank you.
I think
favor.
the selectmen
Lost my
already
words.
voted on that too.
All right.
It's contagious.
So, like as of today, officially?
Yeah, but have her act as, like, you have to vote to have her act as, like,
Understood.
As
as an
the,
agent for the Board of Health.
all right. Was that so moved?
Yeah,
All right.
To act as
I
an
will move
agent.
To
that.
act as, so I would like a motion to, to have Agnieszka act as the public health officer for the Douglas Board of Health.
Yes.
Yes.
So moved. All right, and seconded. Any discussion in favor, against? None, the motion is passed.
Okay, keep that thought,
All right.
because now we're gonna do the same thing
Okay.
for Stacy and Dominique. So
All right.
I did put their resumes in here, just so you want to take a peek at them. They're both completely, so this is Dominique's first day.
Oh,
There
I
you
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's had a big first day.
Have you?
I know, thanks for coming.
No problem, thanks for having me.
So Stacy's been working for a while.
I want to know if Dominique brought any of the payment for this position that we're going to do, this baking and pastry.
Okay. About it, like,
Oh, yeah.
I forgot it.
Well, I'd like to try some.
Myself.
I do enjoy eating.
I forgot.
Now, Stacy, you're gonna have to make this font smaller soon, huh? We got
I'm bad.
a lot of stuff on there. You know? I'd say it's good. All right, no, thank you very much.
No, they say keep it to one page.
Yeah, it can be possible. So now you just gotta vote the same thing, to act as agents.
I'd like to make a motion that we have Dominique and Stacy act as agents for the Douglas Board of Health.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and I have a second motion. All those in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Discussion? No? All right, motion is passed.
Go forth and do good.
And then one more thing for Stacy before you guys can head out. Any updates on the, like for the health agent update as far as,
Not a ton, just finishing up for the year, right on track for that. We're gonna be just kind of getting everything organized a little bit in the new year to come, as far as like how we track everything we were talking about earlier. But yeah, everything.
Good,
food
knock on
side
wood.
is
Do you have
Looking good.
Do you have a schedule of when you're going to be doing restaurants? Because I know you're doing the whole 8
Yeah.
communities. Do you have a so that you know when you're going to do the restaurants and yours?
So yeah, we do, the way we do our schedule is we'll typically be scheduled in one town per day.
Okay.
So I'm usually in Douglas Tuesdays or Thursdays, and it alternates the week, and it gets a little crazy. But,
Yeah.
so I know like what days I'll be in Douglas for the month. They usually do a monthly calendar,
Okay.
which helps me to schedule for sure.
Yeah.
So usually it's on those days that I'll do Douglas.
So, okay, so the reason why I ask is because, so I don't know if anybody else has, I did one of the restaurants this summer. I know Agnieszka's probably been doing a lot of them. I like to go every once in a while and go to a new restaurant, so if you can let me, if you can let
Sure, yeah, yeah.
her know, I'd like to, just
Absolutely.
every once in a while, not like every single
Yeah.
time, but.
Refresh your
Yeah.
memory.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would join that list too. Not at the same time, different time.
Absolutely.
You don't hear my musings? No, just interested to keep my, so I had done an
That's a good idea,
auxiliary, food inspection for Rhode Island, during emergencies. So it's been a while, but, I like to just go in and see
Yeah,
what you
I
guys are
totally
looking
get
at
it. I
and
totally get it.
what's going on, just
If you don't use it,
finger on the
use
pulse,
it.
exactly,
And
exactly,
yeah,
so.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, not an emergency, but, you know, if you're like, oh, hey, next
Just
month,
check it.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Yep. And I can't think of anything else really as far as updates,
Mhm.
with inspections. I mean, everything's going pretty well.
Easy Mart was sold.
Oh.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
I heard
the
that.
owner, yeah.
So the company was sold, or,
The
The ownership.
inside of the building was sold.
okay,
The building and the gas station are still with the original owner.
okay,
The inside of the building and the contents were sold.
okay.
So they'll have all new.
So is there new management, is
New
that,
people.
okay,
Yeah, new management.
okay.
I actually haven't been in there since, but.
Yeah. It just happened.
Okay.
I mean, that's a interesting journey you took to get here. But appreciate you being here.
Yeah, you know, it wasn't my original plan, but you know, I liked where it took me.
Yeah, you never know where you'll end up. Who knows where you'll be in 10 more years?
Absolutely.
You know, you never know. See, you started at a school, cake decorator, management team, executive chef at a brewery, food safety. Yeah, a lot of good stuff, man. It's a lot of good experience.
Thank you.
Seen a lot of good places. It's good. Good experience is good. All right, that was the health agent and, all right. Yep,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you guys very much. Thank you very much.
I'll see you
Thank you.
Thursday.
Painless.
Take
Look
care.
forward to working with you.
Yep, I look forward to seeing you around.
Thank you as well.
Right. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Drive safe, it's probably getting gross out there.
Be careful out there. It's dark.
Night too.
Oh, really?
Hopefully you don't have too long of a drive.
No.
Long,
15 minutes.
long enough?
Yeah.
It's 15 minutes.
Oh, that's,
Stretcher is 15 minutes.
there you go.
Yeah, I got like 45, but
Oh, all right, drive safe.
we'll just drive really fast.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's gonna go above 35.
Stay to the left.
The morning,
Should
when
be
is the
okay.
morning?
All right, see you later.
All right, thank you,
8 a.m.,
thank you.
35.
Have a great evening.
But it doesn't go any lower than that. It doesn't
I
look like.
really hate to drive at night. And I really hate when it's raining.
Oh, it's bad. Even my wife coming home
I'm
said
just
it was
waiting
hard
for
to see.
somebody or some animal to step out in front of me and
No.
Yeah, and it's that temperature too. It's like hovering. You
In the
don't know
middle.
if it's black ice, if we're getting like slippery out there. All right, we're at approval of minutes. Dick, what do you got?
nothing.
Come on.
Ms. Harris doing an outstanding job.
Are we back to you doing these
No,
again?
it's Stephanie.
Ah,
I think I would put that in the front line.
excellent. Yeah, I thought they looked, I mean, I glanced at them quick, but I figured,
You can take it again.
yeah, he's the English teacher. I am not the English teacher.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes from July, August, and September 2024, not 3024.
So do I have a second for that motion?
I'll second.
We have a second for the motion. All those in favor?
All right,
Discussion, any against?
relate.
All right. Pass.
3024?
Yeah, it says 3024.
Minus that.
No, right here, on our agenda.
Oh, that's me.
I'm just, it's fine. It's just the agenda.
We know
No
that's.
wonder we're tired.
Right, it's just 1,000.
It's a long trip.
No, it was, it's 9:30, I just forgot the little slash.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
okay.
You mean, you didn't mean
I didn't
year
mean it.
3024? All right.
You know what's not on here? Any update on what we are supposed to be doing at the landfill as required by the state?
Yeah, Bruce is working on that. I think we're waiting through the bad weather now at this point, I think.
It's here.
All right.
I know.
So now we're
Wait
waiting,
a little more.
so Bruce is working on it?
Yeah.
All right. Do we know what that means?
Well, I mean, he had to hire, he's looking
Like
at
he's-
how to.
How to facilitate, whatever he's doing, he's working on it.
Working on it.
He's working on
Bruce
it.
is in touch with the state and everything, he is.
I feel good about that. If we got Bruce on it,
He's good.
then I'm
It's all
happy.
set.
I'm happy. All right, review bills and warrants. Looks like we spend a lot of money still. Not as much as some departments, I'm sure. Oh man, I bet the school department bills and warrants must be horrendous to look at.
Speaking of that, I'm glad we transferred the land to the old grammar school.
Yeah?
That was done at the town meeting.
It was, huh? It's
Yep.
no longer ours?
No, the other way,
Other way. Oh, it is ours now.
from the school to the grammar school,
Oh, nice.
which means we now get to cover that.
Ah. It's a great old building. My grandmother taught there.
That is a great building.
Such a cool looking building. Yep. All right. We don't do anything with these, right? Just look at them and admire.
Yeah.
All right. Open session with topics not reasonably anticipated 40 hours in advance, old and new business. I got nothing. That animal regulation was my only question, and I think that requires a little bit of review work, so. Especially, I think we're gonna have a lot of public input on
Yeah.
that when the time comes, so I think,
Considering, yeah, we've had.
I think we have to be very careful about how we proceed with that, make sure that we're not too stringent, because it'll just get snuffed out pretty quick.
And it doesn't seem punitive, you know?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, we gotta be careful.
challenge.
I think we were fairly careful
I agree. I
with
think
prices that we
so.
were asking and the,
And I think we were leaning towards, you want chickens, you get chicken, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you want
Yeah.
these, you get, you know what I mean? We're not trying to
Yeah.
no.
take
That
them
has to be
away
the
or prevent
message.
them.
Yeah, that has to be the message.
Yeah, I think the direction it was headed was good. I hope that it continues
Mhm.
in that direction. All right, I guess we need a date. We need a date. We got Christmas coming, New Year. I know, next time I see you guys, I'll be a year older.
Oh, boy.
We can't do the 20th,
No,
so
27.
probably the 27th.
Is that good?
January 27th?
January 27th. Yeah, that
Sounds,
works.
sounds good to me.
25?
I know, that's crazy, right?
I went to write something on my January calendar today,
Older.
and found I don't have one.
I know, I need to do my work.
I know, and I don't, I gotta use my calendar on my phone, and I have not succumbed to the digital calendar
I'll
yet.
do it.
I haven't done it yet.
So
I know
say January.
Everybody says, once you figure it out, it's great, it like tells
December or
you.
January?
January.
January, all
I
right.
just haven't. One day.
Ready for a motion to retire?
Yep, I am ready for a motion to adjourn. Can I get one? Can I get a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
I will second that. motion.
Seconded, we are adjourned.